Hey, what is going on, everybody? So in this video, I'm gonna show y'all how to remove your radiator on your Mercedes-Benz, specifically the Mercedes S-Class W220 from 2000 to 2006. And this one is kind of complicated if you don't know the technique. So I'm just gonna walk you through it and show y'all everything that needs to be done. So you can see right there, you're gonna just hook up a hose, and that's gonna save you a lot of splashback when you're draining your coolant. It's a pro tip. So you might not know it, and you might have been just draining your fluid directly from the radiator. But you can see right there, if you connect a hose to the radiator, you don't get that splashback, and you can have a much cleaner garage. But pretty much, this radiator removal process is not too hard. Now, I'm showing you this clip right here. You need to pull back this little spring bracket, and that's what I'm doing on this upper radiator hose right here, this coolant hose. And you just pull it back. Now, be careful, because when you pry this apart, make sure you take your time, because if you don't, then you're going to do what I did, and boom, it's going to snap. And guess what? That is not the hose coming off. That's a broken radiator. Yeah.
I don't know. I just heard
$300 from what could have just been, doing a drain and replacing hoses, to now I got to buy a new radiator. So that's what happened. You can see right there, that's the radiator. It had fused itself into the hose, even with the spring-loaded clip disengaged. So you can see how, it's just so old. I mean, I don't think I ever replaced the hose. And, so it's been on the car like more than 14 years, It's been on the car all its life. And that's what happens. So I highly recommend you replace your hoses at least every 3 years, no matter what. So, okay, now we're going to remove this other part of the hose. And you would think I would learn my lesson, but fortunately, this connects to the thermostat, and that's made out of aluminum, so it's much harder material. And then we're just going to go ahead and just kind of run through this little smaller hose onto the expansion tank. But guess what? Because the expansion tank is so old, boom, it cracked. And guess what? It broke. $50. So now I'm down $350 just doing a simple hose replacement. And that's what can happen if you leave your hoses on for too long. So, folks, make sure you just stay on top of your maintenance for radiator, hose replacement, fluid replacement, all that kind of stuff. I know it's real easy to kind of just neglect it and think, like the car is running fine, so everything's okay. But just, remember that over time they can fuse themselves together, or they can just, corrode. The plastic can break down because, the heat cycling in the engine, hot, cold, and when you go to remove something, it just breaks. Everything is so brittle, like all the plastic is just so brittle. So, just kind of stay on top of it. And the best way you can do that is to just replace everything, around 3 years, 3 to 5 years, no more than 5, but 3 is, good for like hose replacement, or, even sooner. Whenever you do like a radiator flush or bleed, whatever, then you can change your hose. It's not going to hurt, because hoses are cheap, but, to break a radiator, right? $300. So do the math. All right. So this part right here, I've seen some YouTube videos where they remove that whole top chassis assembly just to remove the radiator. And, you do not have to do that. So I'm going to show you, stick around to the end, because I'm going to show you how to remove the radiator super easy. And, it's once you know the technique, then you're going to be good to go. And you can do it like a professional every single time. All right. So this part right here, this little hose underneath the expansion tank, it's in a little tight area. So if you have some 90-degree needle nose pliers, those will work best. I didn't, so I kind of had to fight a little bit to remove it. But once you get it off, then it's quite simple. But you can also see right there the broken valve on the expansion tank. All right, so now we're just going to remove the other end of that hose right there, and we're just going to keep on going. So, but this is one of those jobs where it's not difficult if you just take your time. It's just kind of a lot of moving parts, so to speak. All right, so now we're on to our transmission lines. One tip about the transmission lines is that you want to keep them elevated. If you keep them elevated, they will not leak. Also, put some paper towels inside the transmission lines so that dirt doesn't get inside the lines. And just remember to keep the lines elevated and you won't have any kind of leaking issues. So if you need to sit the car, like overnight, or if the car needs to sit for a few days, which is what happened in my case because I had to wait on parts and all that kind of stuff, then this is it's a good idea to just make sure the lines are elevated. And you can see right here, here's the bottom part of the coolant hose. So this is the second coolant hose you're going to need. There's two, and this is the bottom part of that coolant system. And it's pretty much going to be the same thing. You're going to remove one band or hose clamp, and then on the other side is going to be that kind of clip that you're going to have to remove and everything like that. Why Mercedes did that and why they didn't just make a traditional hose like this side, and why didn't they do it for both sides, I don't know. I think it was over-engineered, and as a result you can see that's what happened. But I'll take full responsibility. It's my fault because I should have changed the hose more frequently. One thing I do recommend though is that you can put like a little silicone inside the hose, and then that way it won't seize on you. And just be careful right here because you are going to have a little bit of coolant that is still going to remain in the block and in the radiator even though it's been drained. So keep that in mind. And to tell you how old it is, you can see I'm still using the gold color coolant, which has been updated to the blue. And stay tuned for another video where I'll show you how to fill the car with coolant, and I'm going to use the blue coolant. So if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe so you can see that video. And if you like this content and it's giving you value, then hit that like button. It really helps out the channel and the video. All right, so this part right here, this little AC condenser line, you don't have to move it. You just have to unscrew that bolt because it connects to the radiator. And you can just see like right there, you can just you kind of unseat the radiator out of those little guide holes. This is like a little duct right next to your air compressor pump, and that needs to be removed so that you can kind of just get a little bit more free access to the radiator. Like I said, there's a lot of moving parts in this radiator removal process, but nothing is too difficult. It's just a lot of steps, so to say. And okay, so this part right here on the passenger side, it's these two like bumper chassis frame bolts you got to remove. I just torqued them to 50 or 60 newton meters. Okay, so when you're removing this radiator, there's this little power steering hose that's going to be in the way down here. But the trick is you want to pull the radiator out from the top and then push in from the bottom and then lift out. So pretty much it's going to be like this, and you're just going to, you can grab it by the air ducts right here on the side, and then you just kind of have to play with it from here. But pretty much it's just play around with it and really get. So I want to show you more like in detail kind of how this works. Let me see if I can get the phone. Alright, so you can see I tried to use one hand to hold the phone, but unfortunately can't do that. But you can see what I'm talking about. Like, you just push it, you here, push forward and then pull back like that. See how it's getting behind that? You just gotta, there we go. See, like how you can kind of you kind of have to get it at the right angle and then swing it back and then lift up like that. And then the whole radiator comes out just like that. And then you kind of have this little hose off to the right here. And then you got these little brackets. So you see like there's like these little brackets right here. Like they're little air ducts and stuff. But yeah, just take it out. Now, one thing I'm not gonna do is put these brackets back on. See like right here, these little air ducts, they're all beat to crap. I'm not putting these things back on. No way, no way. So we got the radiator out right here. We got it out. And it comes out super easy if you know the technique. So I just showed you the technique and it's leaking. So I'm gonna get this off to the side here. All right, but yeah, if you know the technique, this radiator comes out super easy. If you don't know the technique, it's like gonna be an impossible fight. So hope this helps. Now let's go ahead and put the new radiator in, and it's just gonna be the reverse order, but we're gonna do a few things first because there's some things on the old radiator that we have to remove and put onto the new radiator. So let's do that. Okay, so we got the radiator out, and now before we throw away the radiator, we're gonna have to remove these little kind of metal guide screw tabs that hold the radiator together. So we're gonna have to look for them. There's 4 of them plus the AC condenser line piece. So they're just gonna be, you know, all throughout the radiator. Just gotta hunt them down. And then this one is for the this one's for the AC line. And then just take some kind of, you know, metal pick, like O-ring pick or something, and then just kind of, you know, pull them out, and you know, you'll be good to go. They're really easy. It's not too difficult. And there should be 4 plus that one. Now these little tabs right here, all you have to do is pinch them. You don't have to use a little pry tool like I did. You can just squeeze that little tab on the back. Now I'm using the OEM ones because they're still good. I didn't break them, and they just look a little bit more beefier than the tabs that come with the radiator, the aftermarket radiator. And you can see right there, I just kind of sanded them down and cleaned them up. There should be 4, and then plus the extra one right there. And the new radiator that I'm using is a Nissen radiator, Nissen's radiator. It's okay. That's the aftermarket one and everything like that. But the reason I say it's okay is because it gives you the traditional bleed valve. And when I opened it up, hardly anything came out. And, you know, so the only way for me to bleed the radiator was I had to pull out the entire valve, and, you know, coolant splashes everywhere. So it's just something to keep in mind. And you can see here I kind of greased up the mounting holes for the radiator, and I think it's, you know, it just kind of helps with sliding in the new radiator. But it's not too mandatory, but it does help. So, you know, just something to keep in mind. And you can see right here, this is the new radiator, and I'm just gonna, you know, put it in nice and gentle. The most important thing is you do not want to damage those fins, the cooling fins. And you can see right there, I put the rubber grommet on backwards. So just make sure yours is facing the other way. But you can see right there, I'm just taking my time, and I didn't put on those plastic kind of air ducts on the side, and I've been driving with the car for, you know, at least about like 200 miles, and I haven't noticed any difference. So, you know, they're not that important, and the air ducts that connect to the air filters, they connect just fine. Not a big, you know, there's no real big difference. So, you know, it's up to you if you want to put them back on or not, but I chose to leave mine off. But you can see right here, again, I'm just taking my time, and everything is going in nice and smooth, you know, and remember that angle, you know, just kind of out and in, and then there you go. Boom, it's in nice and smooth. And just put the tabs on, and once you put the tabs on, you know, you're pretty much good to go. And with all that said, thank y'all very much. Thank y'all very much, and I'll see y'all in the next video.